Okay, so we'll proceed to Module 7. So Module 7 is about limits. At the end of this module, the students will be able to define limit, evaluate the limit of the given function, and sketch graphs of functions and determine if the limit exists. Sir Isaac Newton, an English physicist and mathematician, and Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz, a German philosopher and mathematician, independently developed the foundations of calculus in the mid-17th century. So the two proponents of calculus is Isaac Newton and Leibniz. Okay? So sa iba may T, pero okay din yung walang T na Leibniz or Leibniz. It's just the same. Calculus has widespread applications in science, engineering, as well as in economics. So it is a study of limits, functions, derivatives, integrals, and infinite series. So in this module, the limits of functions will be thoroughly discussed. So limits from tables and graphs. The concept of limits is important in calculus. So the limit of a function, that is the f of x, is the value it approaches as the value of x approaches a certain value. So what will happen to the value of x, okay, what happened to the value of y when the value of x approaches to that certain value, which is what we call the limit. So as x approaches a, the limit of f of x approaches L. So this is written in symbols as follows. So we read this: the limit of f of x as x approaches a is a limit. Okay, so we will check what do we mean by limit in calculus. So by using the table and the graph, okay. So example number 1, find the limit of x plus 2 as x approaches 4. The arrow pointing at 4, when we say x approaches 4, yung value ni x ay papalapit kay 4. What are the values of x na papalapit kay 4? Ano yung mga value na nasa right ni x? Okay, nasa right ni 4. Ano yung mga number na nasa left niya? Anong nangyayari kapag papalapit sila kay 4? Anong nangyayari sa value ni y? So the arrow pointing at 4 indicates that x is approaching 4. When we say approaching 4, it doesn't mean that x equals 4. Papalapit lang. Okay? That x is approaching 4 from the left side and from the right side of 4. What are the numbers that is on the left side of 4? Okay? So ibig sabihin yung mga value na lumiliit. Okay? Yung nasa left ni 4. 4, 3, 2, 1. Kasama ang rational, irrational numbers. Basta nasa kaliwa niya. At yung mga nasa right side naman ni 4, lumalaki naman. 4, 5, 6, and so on and so forth. Even the irrational and irrational numbers. So, it cannot take 4 as a value because it is just approaching 4. So yun yung sinasabi ko, x approaching 4 doesn't mean that the value of x equals 4. Okay? Papalapit lang kay 4. So the first thing to do is to find the limit of the given function, is to construct tables of values. So in table 1, let x take on some values x that are greater than 4. Okay, so these values x gets closer and closer to 4. If you start with 2, pataas, papalapit kay 4. 2, 2.5, 3, 3.1, 3.3, 3.5, up to 3.99. Okay, so it's irrational. Okay, anong nangyayari sa value ni y? 4, 4.5, 5, 5.1, 5.3, and so on, up to 5.99. Okay? And table 2 class, paglapit going to the right, papunta kay 4. 6, 5.5, 5, 4.9, 4.7, up to 4.001. Okay? Ang value ni x ay lumalapit saan? 8, 7.57, 6.9, 6.7, 6.5, up to 6.001. Okay? So when we notice the two tables, yung value ni x ay saan lumalapit? As the value of x gets closer to 4 from the left, or as x approaches 4 from the left, the value of f of x approaches 6. Okay? Pareho silang papalapit kay 6 habang lumalapit kay 4. As x approaches to 4, the value of y, okay, approaching 6. Okay? As the value of x gets closer to 4 from the right, or as x approaches 4 from the right, f of x approaches y. In other words, the value of f of x gets closer and closer to 6. So as the value of x gets closer and closer to 4 from either side, this can be written as follows, that the limit of x plus 2 as x approaches 4 is equal to 6. Okay, so I'm going to present later yung mga theorems under limits. Okay. But for now, let's just check by looking on the table and on the graph. Okay? So makikita din naman natin sa graph, habang ang value ni x ay papalapit kay 4, ang value ni 6 ng y natin lumalapit kay 6. Ganon din dito, habang ang value ay papunta, okay, kay 4, ang value din ni y ay papalapit kay 6. Next example, find the limit of x minus 3 as x approaches 2. So when we do the table, ano yung mga value na papalapit kay 2? 0.5, 1, 1.1. Again, by the using of the table, kayong bahala mag-set ng values ni x. Basta yung mga value na papalapit kay 2, yung nasa left niya at yung nasa right niya. Anong napapansin nyo sa mga values na nakukuha sa y values? So when we graph, and this is also a linear function. Okay, so in table 1 is the value of x gets closer and closer to 2 from the left of 2. The value of f of x gets closer to negative 1. Habang ang value ni x papalapit kay 2, ang value ni y ay lumalapit kay negative 1. In table 2, as the value of x gets closer, papunta naman sa left, papalapit ng papalapit sa 2, ang value ni y ay lumalapit din kay negative 1. Okay, so therefore, the limit of x minus 3 as x approaches 2 is equal to negative 1. So that is the limit. So, ganun din sa ibang example class. Find the limit of x plus 4 as x approaches 1. So, you make a table, okay, and then check the table what happened to the value of y as x approaches to certain value. That is what we call limits. Okay, so example number 4 class. Find the limit of x squared minus 4x plus 3 over x minus 3 as x approaches 3. When we substitute it to the given, magsi-0. Right? 3 minus 3, it's 0. So dito kasi, para mas madaling makuha ang value ng limit, if it's algebraic functions. Okay, one of the theorems, you just need to substitute the given value. 2 minus 3, the answer is negative 1. It's the same with the previous examples. 2 minus 3, it's negative 1. Here, 4 plus 2, so the limit is 6. Example number 1, that is the answer, 6. Okay, if the given has a restriction in the domain, and when you just substitute directly the value of a in the given, we'd notice that the denominator that is undefined, right? Notice that f of x is not defined at x equals 3. Then f of x is equal to 0 over 0. 0 over 0 class is undefined. Okay? Any number divided by 0, the answer is undefined. In the language of calculus, we call that indeterminate. Okay? We call this indeterminate form. So what should be done here is to simplify the expression by factoring its numerator. So if the previous examples, we just do direct substitution since the given is just a linear function. Okay, you can use direct substitution, but if the given has a restriction, you just need to simplify it first. And we know that for rational function class, we just need to factor the numerator and the denominator, and let's see if there can perform we can perform cancellation since the operation now is multiplication. So when we factor our numerator, x squared minus 4x plus 3, the factor is x minus 3 multiplied by x minus 1 over x minus 3. We can cancel now x minus 3 in the numerator and in the denominator. So when we simplify this, we can have the limit of x minus 1 as x approaches 3. So kapag ginrap natin to class, it's aligned. Ito na siya. Okay, the y-intercept is -1 and the slope is 1. Okay, so dito na tayo. You can now use the direct substitution kasi wala nang restriction sa linear function. So the limit of x minus 1 as x approaches 3 is 2. Papalapit ng papalapit yung value ni y kay 2. Okay? As x approaches 3, so titingin kayo dito sa 3, anong nangyayari sa value ni y? That's the limit, which is 2. Is that clear?
Po.
Okay. Next example, find the limit of x cubed plus x squared minus x minus 1 over x minus 1 as x approaches 1. So when we use direct substitution, 1 minus 1, it's 0. So hindi tayo pwedeng mag-direct substitution. So we need to factor our numerator. Okay? And let's see kung merong maka-cancel. And most of the time, meron yan. Kasi our goal ay makaroon tayo ng value or ng limit. Okay? And when we are dividing polynomials, right, we can use the long method. You divide x cubed plus x squared minus x minus 1 by x minus 1, or by using, ano nga bang method yun? Ano nga bang method class yung kalimutan ko yung tawag? Anyone, yung gagawin natin, yan. Kunin natin ang numerical coefficient. Make sure that the given polynomials is synthetic division. All right, synthetic division. So we'll have 1, 1, negative 1, negative 1. Okay, so yung value dito, ito na yan. For sure, one of the factors of our numerator is x minus 1. Okay, therefore, the value of x is 1. So you will have 1. 1 times, bring down 1, 1 times 1, 1, 1 plus 1, 2, 2 times 1, 2, 2 plus negative 1, 1, 1 times 1, 1, and the answer is 0. Pag ang pinakalas ay 0, ibig sabihin, this is one of the factors, x minus 1. Therefore, the numerator is, so you need to write the limit of x cubed plus x squared minus x minus 1 over x minus 1 as x approaches 1. You just need to write the limit of, for sure, one of the factors is x minus 1. And the other factors, laging minus 1, x cubed to. Therefore, this is x squared. X squared plus 2x plus 1. Okay? And this is non-factorable. Hindi na siya. Hindi na natin ito masisimplify over x minus 1 as x approaches 1. We can now cancel x minus 1 in our numerator and denominator. So we will have the limit of x squared plus 2x plus 1 as x approaches 1. Laging sinusulat to class. The limit of x squared plus 2x plus 1 as x approaches 1. Sabi kasi sa definition, the limit of f of x as x approaches a is a limit. Okay? So we can have now, we can do direct substitution. Okay? Here, the limit of x squared plus 2x plus 1 as x approaches 1. Therefore, the limit is, we can now substitute 1 in the given. Ito ay algebraic function na, right? It's a quadratic. So 1 plus 2, it's 3 plus 1, 4. Therefore, the limit of this, the limit of x cubed plus x squared minus x minus 1 over x minus 1 as x approaches 1 is 4. Tingnan natin. Okay, the answer is 4. Is that clear? Do you have questions? Can you follow? Okay, so before we go to one-sided limits, para mas maintindihan nyo yan, I'm going to present now bago tayo magpunta sa one-sided, I'm going to present limit laws. Okay. Theorems on limits of functions. The first limit, the limit of a function is that constant. The limit of a constant function is a constant. Ano ba yung constant function? If the form is f of x equals b. Right? We have f of x equals b. If we get the limit of a constant function, the answer daw yung constant. Okay? Illustration, the limit of 4 as x approaches 2 is this one, the constant itself, which is 4. The limit of 9 as x approaches 6 is 9. Okay, that's the first theorem. The limit of a constant function is a constant. Next. The limit of the identity function. Diba? The identity function class, the form is f of x equals x. Whatever the value of x, that is the same with the value of y. Okay. The limit of the identity function is equal to a. So the limit of x as x approaches a is a. Whatever the value of the a, that is the limit. So for example, the limit of x as x approaches 5 is 5. Okay, the limit of x as x approaches 8 is 8 because this is an identity function. Okay, diba? Identity function, sarili, parang reflection yun eh. Kung ano yung value ni x, yun din ang value ni y. Okay, next. The limit of a constant c times a function is equal to the constant times the limit of the function, provided that the limit of f of x as x approaches a exists. The limit of c times f of x as x approaches a, that is also equal to c times limit of f of x as x approaches a. Para mas madaling kunin ang limit class. So magkakadugtong kasi yung sa una, the limit of f of x as x approaches a exists only if the limit of c of f of x as x approaches a. Pag hihiwalayin nyo lang, parang you factor out the constant times the limit of the given function. Okay? So for example, 4x, the numerical coefficient you put outside, that is also equal to 4 And we know that the limit of an identity function is the value of the a, which is 2. 4 times 2, that's 8. Or you just need to substitute. Pwede na dito ang direct substitution kasi linear function din naman to eh. Diba? The limit of 4x as x approaches 2 as x approaches 2, that is, we can do direct substitution. The limit of 4 times 2 as x approaches 2 is 8. Okay? So sum and difference, same ang 4 and 5, parang the same. So 4 ang operation lang, addition, sa 5, difference. Okay? So the limit of f of x plus g of x as x approaches a is just the same with limit of f of x as x approaches a plus the limit of g of x as x approaches a. So this is also a linear function. You can just do direct substitution. Okay, when we just apply theorem, yun ang tawag sa kanya. So this is addition, the operation is addition. So you just follow this. Or you just do direct substitution, the limit of x plus 7 as x approaches 2. So this is an algebraic function. So just substitute the limit of 2 plus 7 as x approaches 2 is equal to 9. Okay? So ganun din sa 5. Ang operation ng class ay subtraction. So we have also a linear function. So the limit of x minus 5 as x approaches 3. So we will have the limit of 3 minus 5 as x approaches 3. So 3 minus 5, the answer is negative 2. Okay, the answer is negative 2. And number 6, product of two functions. The limit of the product of two functions is the product of their limits, provided that the limit of each function x approaches a exists. So you just multiply the two functions and find their limits. So the limit of f of x times g of x as x approaches a means limit of f of x as x approaches a multiplied by the limit of g of x as x approaches a. So you can simplify this. The limit, wala rin naman siyang restriction kasi ito naman ay polynomials din. 3 times 2x plus 1. I mean, walang restriction, hindi naman siya rational as x approaches 2. So, pwedeng isimplify nyo muna. 3. So, 3 times 2x, it's 6x. 3 times 1 is 1. Then, get the limit of 6x plus 1 as x approaches 2. So, therefore, we will have the limit of 6 times 2, it's 12 plus 1. So the answer is okay, 3 times 2x, 6x. 3 times 1, sorry, the answer is 3. So we will have again. So when we simplify this, ang sagot natin kanina ay 6x plus 3. The limit of 6x plus 3 as x approaches 2. So we'll just substitute the limit of 6 times 2, it's 12 plus 3 as x approaches 2. Therefore, the limit is 12 plus 3, 15. I-simplify na lang muna yung given function and then before you substitute. If the domain is set of real numbers. Okay, Next is for the quotient. We know that this is for rational. The g of x should not be equal to 0. The limit of f of x over g of x as x approaches x means limit of f of x as x approaches a over the limit of g of x over the limit of g of x as x approaches a, wherein the limit of g of x as x approaches a should not be equal to 0. Okay, so kanina sa rational, if we use direct substitution class, nagsisiro siya. So, dito naman, kapag nag-direct substitution ka, 2 plus 3, 5. So, hindi naman 0 ang denominator. So, you can use direct substitution. Hindi naman lahat ng rational function, okay, ay kailangan mo munang mag-factor. It depends on the given. So, dito, we can use direct substitution dahil hindi naman magsisiro ang ilalim. That's why 2 times 2, it's 4 plus 5. That is 9. 2 plus 3, that is equal to 5. Therefore, the limit of 2x plus 5 over x plus 3 as x approaches 2 is 9/5. Okay, another example or illustration, the limit of 5x plus 4 over x plus 1 as x approaches 2. When we do direct substitution, 2 plus 1, the answer is 3. So we can use direct substitution. And the answer is 5 times 2, it's 10 plus 4, it's 14 over 2 plus 1, that is 3. So the answer is the limit of 5x plus 4 over x plus 1 as x approaches 2 is 14 over 3 or 14 thirds. Next, number 8, the limit of the n power of a function is equal to the power of the limit of that function provided that n is a positive integer and the limit of f of x as x approaches a exists. So we are now encountering power of a function. So the limit of the n power of f of x as x approaches a. Okay, so here you can just do direct substitution kasi wala naman siyang denominator. As long as the power is positive. Okay, for the illustration, the first one, the limit of the cube of 3x plus 4 as x approaches 1. So this is also an algebraic function, so we can use direct substitution. 3 times 1, it's 3 plus 4, 7. 7 cubed, that is equal to 343. Letter B, the limit of the square root of 4x plus 9 as x approaches negative 3. So 4 times negative 3, it's negative 12 plus 9, so it's negative 3. The square root of negative 3 is 9. Okay, so that's number 8. Number 9 is for nth root. Square root, 4th root, 5th root, 6th root. The limit of an nth root of a function is equal to the principal nth root of the limit of that function, provided that n is a positive integer and the limit of the function is positive if n is even. So for the illustration, the limit of the cube root of x squared plus 4 as x approaches 2. Sa square root naman, this is cube root. Sa cube root, okay lang namang mag-negative ang radical. Meron tayong makukuhang value, di ba? The cube root of negative 8. This is just an example or para ma-imagine nyo lang. The cube root of negative 8, it's negative 2. Basta pag ang power ay add, pwedeng naka-negative ang radical niya. Pero pag ang power, ang root mo ay even, hindi pwedeng mag-negative ang nasa loob. Okay? Ito naman, nag-positive naman ang loob. So, kung negative ba niyan, okay lang. Basta dapat, ang magiging sagot ay real number. So, when we show the limit of cube root of x squared plus 4 as x approaches 2, so when we substitute 2 squared, that's 4 plus 4, it's 8. The cube root of 8, that is 2. 2 is a real number. So, ibig sabihin, tama naman yung process natin. Okay, that is for nth root. Yung 8 for power. And for the last theorem, if f is a polynomial function and c is a real number, then the limit of f of x as x approaches c is equal to f of c. So the limit of 2x minus x as x approaches 5 So, mas madali to kung mag-direct na rin kasi linear naman siya. 2 times 5, 10 minus 8, it's 2. Okay. Ine-explain lang sa theorem ano yung process na ginagawa natin at anong tawag doon. Okay, so the limit of a function is not always equal to the value of f of c of the function. If the function is a polynomial function, then f of c is equal to the limit of f of x as x approaches c. The limit of a function is not dependent on the value of the function. The value of a function may even be undefined, like if we have this function, okay, and we know there for the domain, all real numbers except 2. Kasi mag-undefined siya. So you need to simplify first the given function. X squared minus 4, that is difference of two squares. The factors for difference of two squares is x plus 2 multiplied by x minus 2. Cancel x minus 2. So we will have the limit of x plus 2 as x approaches 2. Now we can substitute the value of c. The value of c is 2. So 2 plus 2, the answer is 4. So the limit of x plus 2 as x approaches 2 is 4. Okay, ito yung ginawa natin kanina. Kapag nag-direct substitution ka kasi, magsisiro ang denominator. So you need to find ways para mas masimplify muna yung function. And we do factors our numerator and we do cancellation. Okay. So these are the examples. Okay. So we will just continue this examples. Anyway, yung mga example na, yung illustration ay parang example na rin naman. Okay. So for example 1, this is quadratic, so you can use direct substitution. Example 2, this is also a polynomial, it's a cubic. So you can use also direct substitution. So number 3, you can check. 8 times 3, 24 minus 5, hindi naman siya equal sa 0. So pwede kang mag-direct substitution. Sa number 7, you cannot do direct substitution. So simplify first the given function before you get the limit. Number 5, you also need to simplify first the function. And then get the factors, do cancellation before you get the limit. Okay. And number 6, this is for nth root. Okay lang naman, hindi naman magsisiro ang ilalim. Meron namang square root of 0. So, pwede namang din mag-direct substitution. Even here, sa number 7, you need to simplify first. Okay, the limit of square root of x minus 2 over x minus 4 as x approaches 4, you need to simplify first. By the way, how do we get the answer for number 7? How do we get the answer? So the given for number 7 is the limit of square root of x minus 2 over x minus 4 as x approaches 4. We cannot do direct substitution because when we do that, 4 minus 4 is 0. Our denominator becomes 0. What is the factor of this? Can we factor? So when we do that class, square root of x minus 2 over. When we factor x minus 4, kala natin wala na, but that is also the same with square root of x plus 2 multiplied by square root of x minus 2. Because square root of x times square root of x, that is equal to x. Okay, and this is the factors of difference of two squares. For difference of two squares class, you just need to multiply the first to first, last to last terms, right? A plus B times A minus B. Okay? Kaya ang minultiply ko na lang dito, first to first, last to last. And ito yung sagot. X minus 4. Square root of x times square root of x, that is x. 2 multiplied by negative 2, it's negative 4. And we cancel. So we can have now the limit of 1 over square root of x plus 2 as x approaches 4. Okay, so when we do that, square root of 4, so we'll have the limit of 1 over square root of 4 plus 2 as x approaches 4. When we simplify, square root of 4, that's 2 plus 2, it's 4. So therefore, the answer is 1/4. This is the answer, 1/4. Okay, so we will just continue our discussion next week kasi meron pa din tayo one-sided limit. So for one-sided, papasok ang piecewise functions. Any question?
None po, ma'am, sa akin po.
So we will continue. Kung gusto nyo nang sagutan yung first part, kayong bahala. Pero ang goal natin for this day is do your activity muna sa functions, yung kanina. Unahin yung sa functions. Kasi hindi pa tayo tapos